Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
All right, here we go. All right, everyone, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by Kellin Babbs. Kellin is a EHS administrator. I'm going to let him give you a little more information on what that is. I think it's emergency health and safety. He's also, I think, owner of Bold Canva CPR. So, Kellin, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. I'm glad to have you. Can you let our listeners know a little more about you and a little more about what you do at your different roles that you're in charge of?
Yes, sir. So what I do, and I'll rewind. Before I was a firefighter, I worked in IT and tech. This is important footnote. I worked for Apple for about 10 years, and then I got into the fire service when I was 34 years old. So I became a full-time firefighter for the last 7 years. And so I did just normal fire department, full-time in Williamson County near just North Austin, Texas area. And then Pedernales Fire Department about 1 mile from Willie Nelson's ranch. So throughout the fire career, it was great. I ended up having some opportunities to elevate that career, and I did. I took over a program at the Tesla Gigafactory here, helping run a team of 4 fire inspectors. This was essentially as well under the environmental health, safety, and security org that they had. And so I was not on the operations side of firefighting, but more the prevention side. So I ran a team of 4 fire inspectors. In addition, had built a fire warden program, and the nomenclature there, the fire wardens were actual certified firefighters that Tesla would use. So I built a program to schedule and manage about 50 to 75 firefighters, and then created a 2024 and 5 training curriculum for them. And so I did that, and then I ended up elevating it a little bit more. I left Tesla, and I took over emergency management and safety for Ascension Seton Southeast region, managing 3 hospitals. And I then had a later opportunity to elevate it more. So currently, like Nick had said, I am environmental health safety administrator for a global data center builder. And we oversee currently in Austin thousands and thousands of acres of data centers being erected and built, all from the standpoint of just safety, logistics, and intelligence. And so that's more or less what I do now. And then I'm still blessed to be a part-time firefighter. So I'll pick up a 24-hour shift every now and then. I teach PRN as needed for Austin Independent School District, LBJ Fire, 10th through 12th grade, in addition to running my business, Bold Canvas CPR training and safety services, where I do CPR, AHA training, and staff EMS for different events listed throughout the Austin area.
Awesome. Sounds like you have a very full plate. And a family friend of ours, he's a senior in high school. I think he's completed the fire. He's close. We haven't talked to him in a few months, but I know he was getting close to completing his fire training. He's headed down to Southwest Texas, or is it Texas State now? Southwest Texas, whatever it's called now, next fall. But he's gone through the training program there in Austin, through the school.
So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. It's like, man, what a great job. If you can work that into your studies, let's get a full-time pay and, keep do your schoolwork when you can. So I think he's trying to figure out how to juggle being a full-time student and a firefighter at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, it's difficult. I did it 34 years of age, full-time career, complete shift, taking care of a sick parent. It changed my life. 9 months of just, it's one of those things where you could only really accomplish it with a conviction. Not everybody gets a conviction when it comes to a career, but when you have a conviction, everything you're passionate about goes on the back burner except for this one focus that you're hungry for. And that's what happened. It fully consumed me, and it set the groundwork for the niche that I've slowly carved out currently.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. And as you're talking, I think about Tesla and just all the machines and electronics. There's got to be I know they set everything up not to have fires, but you've I mean, you got a lot of heavy equipment and
Mhm.
powerful, lots of energy going through things. So, electrical shock and fire, just all the stuff that could happen that you guys are trying to prevent. I mean, you want to figure it out on the front end, not after it happens, how to prevent it. So, just
Correct.
what a neat opportunity, and how many lives, countless lives, did you save or prevent injuries from it? I don't know if you read what was the about Chicago, the sausage factory. I'm going blank on that. What
The cold storage
no,
facility, that one, or
no, this is the book. Sinclair, is it Sinclair Lewis? I'm going blank on the name of the book, but about the meat packing plants of the early days, and how horrible they. I mean, people would fall into the vats. They just leave them. It's like it's
oh
awful.
yeah,
The
well yeah,
awful.
yeah, and safety's come a long way. I think I don't even like to think of it as hero work per se, but more so prevention. And what I've done over the last over my fire career really resonated just within the safety world as a whole. So whether you go down an occupational health safety rabbit hole, or construction safety, to any type of safety, right? It's the same thing. It's prevention 101. We're just preventing, and then from there alone, you can get tangible data. And these are linked. We can see this with our NIOSH studies, to OSHA studies, to NFPA studies. All those different types of tangible data that we get, these trends that we can track, so to speak. And so it's all from a prevention standpoint. How can we prevent this moving forward? And sadly, to get those statistics, it is casualties. And it's a sad truth of where that stuff came from, right? And so
Mhm.
often when you do see different policies or principles in place, or a flow of how things are supposed to go or whatever, it's not necessarily because somebody wanted to send you to detention for not having a hall pass, right? It's because it, at some point or another, it did happen. Could it happen? Yes. This is what we're doing to prevent it, right? And so it's just a proactive approach overall. Just you buckle your seatbelt for a reason, or you have a harness on a roller coaster, or whatever your risk that you're partaking in. You prevent it somehow, right? And we do it every day without even thinking.
Well, look
So
both ways before you cross the road, type thing. You're
yeah.
going to do it. It's just it needs to almost become a habit like that with some of these
Mhm.
things, right? To where you know, you don't step into the street without looking left. At least you
Yeah.
shouldn't, especially in a city. Well, in this, the health and safety world, or firefighter, I'm sure there's competition. That what is something you feel that has set you apart from others that might be trying to walk the same path?
Um, so what's really set me apart is I wanted to have put my finger on the pulse point a long time ago, before we got kind of more at the foothills of the robotic revolution, technically, right? So we're at the foothills of this techno revolution of all AI integrating into everything. And so I started using OpenAI and different sort of coding back in like 2020, 2021. And I could see kind of it was at that start of when Microsoft Excel was having sums and formulas kind of populate to people's
Mhm.
wow, so to speak. And so, you'd put a range of A1 through X11, and you'd be mind blown that it did all these formulas, right? So we were at those baby steps, at least from the consumer standpoint, back in like 2020, 21, and you could see kind of where it was going. And then as time's gone on, this Wild West has just totally blossomed, right? And so some people hate it, love it, doesn't matter. It's happening whether we like it or not. And how can you use it to streamline and be efficient, right? And so
Yeah.
I think we're at a crossroads where how you use it is up to you, just like the HTML hypertext markup language, the World Wide Web, when it first got introduced, it was kind of like we were on unknown territory at that point. Netscape, America Online, all that stuff. And so we're kind of at that same crossroads. And eventually, what's happening currently, I think, will be the norm. And so I wanted to put my finger on that pulse point and say, okay, how can I get a leg up? What can separate me apart, right? And so as I just about finished my BAS in fire emergency service admin, homeland security focus, I decided to add on some AI tech management classes. And so what that taught me is basically it's how everybody thinks. You're basically going to have a construct that needs management. So who are the people that are going to manage this from a human standpoint, right? And so eventually, maybe that'll be moot or not, but that's way out there thinking. For now, they're going to need people from an emergency management standpoint to look over certain systems, to do some logistics, right? And so I've been kind of just, I'm always furthering that and being innovative with any application or tool that I'm using in my normal work environment to my own personal life, even. So yeah, I think that gives me an edge up. Somebody had told me once, you'll often have first responders with different types of experience, but they won't have a tech side experience, right? And so when you when you combine those two, that kind of gives you a leg up of where you'd want to be for managing a system in the future. And we're going to have just nothing but systems, right? And we're going to need that human oversight. We're going to need that experience, that military experience, that first responder experience.
Mm-hmm. And merging it with the data stuff. That's I have teenage kids that are 20, 18, and 14. Like, you guys are going to need to know how to integrate whatever you're wanting to do in life with AI, with some type of intelligence, most likely with whatever job. So don't run scared from it, but how can you embrace it and include it? And I think in pretty much any, any walk of life, you're going to need it. And maybe not some very main labor intensive, welders. But still, you're going to eventually have a robot or a plumber. You're going to need somebody to change a robot. Maybe eventually can change a toilet or find a pipe. But just some of these things. What are you going to be? How are you going to be able to incorporate that into your
Right?
career?
Right. I mean, and you may have old schoolers that say, "Well, I just want to grab the technically business written fat, manual." Right. But instead of all you got to do is ask this AI assistant app or program or whatever you're given to work with, how can I do X, Y, Z, right? I already started kind of being a DIY or die person when I was working on cars, just fixing things myself, well, I'll be darned if I'm going to spend thousands or what have you with a mechanic. I YouTubed it or videoed it. And then before YouTube and videoing, I'd look at a manual or I'd look at the schematics. How can I circumvent this? With AI and that inclusion, you can kind of pretty much streamline a lot of those processes. And you can, if you have any understanding of AI prompting, if you say certain ping points for whatever system that it's going from Perl, Python code, or whatever the AI system is using, and you know how to talk to it better, you can get what you want very quickly. And so my only concern with that is the laziness aspect, because it's going to say, oh my gosh, a book report used to send people stay up all night trying to get a book report written in the 1960s. Right now, you can get all the excerpts you need for your citations really quick by saying, hey, I want citation based on this, based on this, based on this, War of 1873 at the time in this area. And then bam, it'll give you say the closest citation I have that meets that, bam, and you can build your book report from there, right? And I know you could easily just say, write it for me, but if you want to do that, that's up to you, but that's where that integrity aspect would come into play, where it's like, do you want to do some of the work, or are you going to let it hold your hand and do it for you? As long as we have an awareness of that complacency, I think we'll be all right. But it's a matter of acknowledging that complacency and comfort of saying, okay, I'm always going to have this thing do it for me. Well, you better be aware that when you do that and you have to do it yourself, you're not going to be able to, right? So it's a balancing act at this with the AI stuff, I think.
No, for sure. I mean, because really, even like your word, your Word document will prompt you with misspellings or grammar. I'm like, that's a little bit of AI, but how far are you going to go to having it correct everything or just write the story? My wife was playing with something, and she had I don't remember what site she's on, but had it create a full PowerPoint presentation, and it looked awesome. So like, it's unbelievable. Like, in a matter of a few minutes of just tip prompts and changing, it's like, it's crazy what this can make, and the quality that would have, she was sitting down doing it, taking her hours or days to get done.
Yeah.
You're gathering the data. So if someone's listening, and wants to get better at something in the data world, or even firefighter, EMS type thing, what do you have any tips or suggestions? Any podcasts, books, anything that you have turned to that have helped you?
Yeah, I definitely do. There's a few different inspirations I had. You know, I mean, mine you take, so if somebody's interested in getting into the fire service, I've helped mentor several different folks that are with Austin Fire Department. It just really comes down to a natural conviction. How bad do you want it, right? I will explain my story. I was 34. I didn't have a lot of money. I was taking care of a sick parent, and I signed up for one of the hardest life-changing academies at Oak Hill Fire Department. I didn't have a job afterwards. So after 9 months of being pulverized, learning all these skills, overcoming any obstacle of the human body you can imagine, I didn't have a job. I still had to actually get my EMT basic. I ended up failing my EMT basic through ACC several different times. And so once all my ducks were lined up, the real job happened, and the real job was looking for the job. So after all this work, I still didn't have a job. People would call me crazy. They'd say I was getting told left and right. I was up on the rope, climbed up to the top, hanging on for my life, and they just told me let go. And I said, I'm not going to give up now, right?
Yeah,
So
run most of the race.
Yeah, it's perseverance, determination. What is there's a Calvin Coolidge quote that my father used to say that's regarding the Calvin Coolidge quote is I found it. The world is full of the world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent, right? So
True. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So just that simple one, educate. So the world is full of uneducated, or I'm sorry, the world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent, right? So that's that slogan of "Press On" that Calvin Coolidge had. So what that means is just in its simplest form is just, don't give up, keep at it, use every failure as a success building block for your staircase that you're building, right? So going out there, volunteering at a department, getting your hands on, that auditory, visual, kinetic learning definitely helps. It's all about networking, knocking on a door. I mean, I called fire stations. I went to I had to do something to learn it. So I had just put myself in that environment. And so it's just one of those things. But a lot of times I will see people, they'll think it's cool. They'll go after it, and then they don't get it, or they miss out on their first try and they give up, or they get that flavor of the week and they move on to something else. And so you really just have to stay consistent with it and have a really natural drive. That's the type of worker that kind of job demands and deserves and calls for.
Well, and that's great. It's challenging to get the job because like you said, you need people that are going to be there through some tough situations with fires or car accident, where they're doing some of that first responder stuff. And that's a great, that's what on the Flex Forward podcast, we're looking for stories of resilience, re-innovation, and rise. So I think you're a great fit for that. So we're really glad to have you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Sounds like things are going really well. And as people start having more success, they start considering other opportunities that may be able to help supplement their income, or things where they don't have to put time in, be in real estate or investing in different things. Do you have any thoughts on anything like that?
I think those are great opportunities for other investments. And I mean, we're at a crossroads right now, really, right? Do you let your 401k sit there? Do you invest it in Bitcoin, crypto? Do you invest it in silver? Do you invest it in gold? Do you go old school and just get a bag of gold from a pirate's treasure? What do you do? And there's different avenues. So I think at this point, You have to find what works for you. And, you know, if, I was a 401k guy for a long time, right? So I had it in my retirement and all that stuff and would just let it sit there, right? Over time, I've found different investment strategies and ways that I can kind of get the most bang for my buck or let it sit there, right? And do I fold or do I continue playing is the question. And so, right now, I would imagine a lot of people are playing it safe, close to the chest. We don't know what's going to happen. As far as other lines of like income for myself, I have so much. I'm blessed to have a plug and play as I want on any extracurricular activities that I do outside of my day job. So it's kind of like most people don't get that, but when you build up what I have, you can do that. Your EMT Basic gives you a chance to do EMS standbys. For example, for my company, your fire certs allow you to, work part-time at a fire department. Not only that, if you are coming from the fire service, elevating your career to the safety world is a synonymous path where it's a lot of the things that you've done over the last years as a certified firefighter. Definitely, at least my experience in the state of Texas, most of the stuff we learn, and even on the national framework that we learn, we learn ergonomics to EPA regs to, method 9, air quality, hazardous materials. We learn anything and everything safety from life and death to just the simplest safe slip, trips, falls type stuff, right? So, to answer that, really it just depends what your background's in, finding a way to market it correctly, and then networking the heck out of it.
No, for sure. Well, awesome. As for wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6 to 12 months?
Just furthering my business, really. I have about 15 races a year, triathlons, 10Ks. And I'm doing Austin Psych Fest at the Far Out Lounge coming up, a big music festival here in Austin. I staff that. It's usually myself and another firefighter or a few firefighters, firefighter EMT basics or paramedics. And that's about it. And I've grown that just through word of mouth. I never really believed in hustling it hard, just through basic networking. So, I'm excited about that stuff coming up.
Yeah.
And then there's a few big things with work going on that I'd eventually like to talk about as it carves out over time. But
awesome. It sounds like you have a lot going on. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kellin. If people want to get in touch with you to find out more about what it is you do or connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So Nick, the best way to reach is you can go to it's boldcanvascpr@gmail.com or Instagram @boldcanvascpr, or you can just go to www.boldcanvascpr.com and you can find my contact there. That'll lead you to as well to all my links, any LinkedIn networking like that. I do need to work on better social media advertising portfolio platforms, but I'll get around to it. So for now, easiest is to rep just at Bold Canvas CPR on Instagram is the friendliest one I use.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And Kellin, thank you so much for joining me today. And lots of great information. And you guys are, even if you're not in the Austin area, but especially if you're in the Austin area and you have any kind of EMS needs, anything along this line, I think reaching out there and would be very valuable for you. So definitely connect with him. And everyone, thank you for tuning in today. And be sure to like and share this episode.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.